Ashamed of his wife, he took his mistress to a party and regretted it for the rest of his life. Can you imagine being a loyal, devoted wife, building a life around your ambitious husband, only for him to take his mistress to a lavish corporate party and introduce her to everyone as his new wife? Well, that's exactly what my husband, Nathan, did. And what he didn't know was that his entire world was about to come crashing down in a spectacular public humiliation that would cost him everything. Karma came for him, and trust me, it was anything but gentle. Before I tell you how Nathan's lies unraveled, you need to know who I was before everything blew apart. My name is Emily Harper. We met in college. He was charming, confident, full of ambition. I was smart, driven, and utterly smitten. I believed in his dreams so much that after graduating with honors and landing a prestigious job in finance, I willingly stepped back from my own career to support his. I wanted to be his foundation, the steady force behind his success. We were supposed to be a team. I honestly thought we were. Morning sunlight streamed into our cozy Evanston kitchen. The scent of coffee and pancakes filled the air. I was at the stove, humming, flipping Nathan's favorite pancakes. I glanced at the clock, knowing he'd be down any minute. Footsteps echoed, and there he was. Nathan Reed, impeccably dressed, tailored suit, tie perfect. But his eyes were glued to his phone, scrolling through emails, barely acknowledging the breakfast I'd prepared. "Good morning, Nathan," I said, placing a plate on the table with a soft smile. He just poured himself coffee. "I'm in a hurry," he said, not looking up. "Important meeting." My smile faltered. He grabbed his briefcase, phone still in hand. It wasn't always like this. I remembered when he couldn't wait to sit down to kiss me good morning. Now it felt like I was invisible. I reached out, gently straightening his tie, my fingers lingering. "Good luck with your meeting today," I whispered. "I know you'll do great." He gave me a cursory glance. "Don't wait up. I might be home late." The door closed and the latch echoed through the quiet house. My gaze dropped to the untouched pancakes. With a deep sigh, I began clearing the plates. The house, once filled with warmth, now felt colder, emptier. I couldn't shake the feeling that Nathan was slipping away. Memories flooded my mind: college days, our simple outdoor wedding under a golden sun. "I will never let anything come between us," he'd promised, holding my hands. Those words felt a lifetime ago. I wiped a stray tear, trying to focus. I'd given up so much for him. I'd willingly stepped back from my own career, a prestigious job in finance, to support his dreams. I wanted to be the steady force behind his success. But now I wondered if it had been the right choice. At Reed Enterprises, Nathan thrived. It was a fast-paced, cutthroat world, where success was measured by deals closed. He walked into his office with an air of absolute confidence. "Mr. Reed, the investors are waiting," his executive assistant, Vanessa Brooks, called out. Vanessa was striking: sharp features, polished demeanor, always in fitted dresses that accentuated her figure. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence, and something else I couldn't quite place. As they exited the meeting, she said, "You did great today, Mr. Reed. You always do." Nathan smirked. "Thanks, Vanessa. Couldn't have done it without you." Their eyes met, a look that lingered a little too long. Back home, I tidied up, glancing at the clock, wondering if he'd call. The silence was deafening. I typed a quick message. "Good luck with the investors. Hope everything goes well." My finger hovered over send. Don't want to disturb him. He's busy. I put the phone down. I walked into my small home office, my old desk covered in notes from a past career. I logged onto a professional networking site. Notifications popped up: former classmates, now climbing corporate ladders, starting businesses. A bittersweet smile touched my lips. "I chose family over career," I whispered. "I made the right choice, didn't I?" Later that evening, Nathan returned, looking exhausted. I greeted him with a warm smile, but he barely acknowledged me, heading straight for his study. "Good night, Nathan," I said softly to the empty hall. In his study, Nathan sat at his desk, Vanessa's words echoing in his mind. Her admiration, her praise. He thought about how different she was from me. Polished, confident, ambitious. The next morning, I woke early, determined to shake off the sadness. I went for a jog, reflecting on my sacrifices. When I came home, I pulled out a notebook, jotting down ideas. Small goals, dreams I put on hold. For the first time in a long while I felt a spark of hope. But beneath Nathan's polished exterior, the cracks were deepening. Vanessa's words echoed in his mind. "You always get what you want, Nathan." And he chuckled, "Always." The lines between business and personal continued to blur. The subtle red flags I'd been pushing down for months were now waving in front of me. The gym became weekend work with Vanessa. The phone buzzed constantly, then was locked the second I walked in. Just the team. Deadlines. I felt that twist in my gut seeing the shift. I just didn't want to admit what it meant. Every year, our company threw a huge holiday party at the Drake Hotel. A lavish show. For Nathan it was networking. For me it was a chance to feel like his partner again. I'd spent an hour on my hair, picked out a beautiful navy dress. "You like it?" I'd asked. "It matches your eyes," he'd said. I thought it would be a good night for us. I had no idea it was about to burn our whole life down. The first hour of that party felt like a dream. Nathan so proud of me. Me laughing, feeling like myself. Then I saw him. Daniel Rohr, the regional director, Nathan's boss. He slid into the circle of people around Nathan, and his hand settled on Vanessa's back. Not guiding her. Resting there. Casual. Familiar. My chest tightened, but I tried to ignore it. "She's just networking, Emily. Don't be that jealous wife." But that feeling of dread grew. Around 10:30, I realized I hadn't seen Nathan in a while. I scanned the ballroom. No navy dress. No familiar laugh. My gut was screaming louder than my pride. I called his phone. Voicemail. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. This time I couldn't ignore it. I walked out of that ballroom to go find my husband. That was the last normal moment of my marriage. I checked everywhere. The restrooms. The patio. The lobby. No sign of him. 10 minutes. 20. 30. My chest got tighter and tighter. Then I saw him. Nathan. He stepped out of a side corridor I hadn't even thought to check. Not the main hallway. Not near the restrooms, but somewhere tucked away. He was walking fast. His neat updo was coming apart. His makeup was smudged. But what hit me hardest wasn't what I saw. It was what I smelled. A strong woody men's cologne clung to his dress. Not mine. Not even close to mine. He spotted me and froze. Then he forced a smile. "I had too much champagne," he said quickly. "I've been in the bathroom trying not to throw up." Bathroom, right? In a corridor I just checked. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. "You okay?" I asked. "Let's just go home." I didn't call him out. Not there. Not yet. But inside something in me went cold. The ride back to Plano felt longer than the whole night. Nathan buckled in, scrolled his phone, then leaned his head against the window. "I'm exhausted," he mumbled. "I'm just going to close my eyes." A minute later he was asleep. Or pretending to be. Hard to tell. That cologne hit me again, stronger now, trapped in the small space between us. It sat in my nose like an accusation. I kept my hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, jaw tight. Every part of me wanted to shake him awake and demand the truth. But another part of me, the tired, older, more scared part, whispered, "If you're wrong, you'll blow everything up. If you're right, your life is already gone." I felt like a fool. But I knew one thing. I needed proof. Something broke inside me that night. Not all the way, but it cracked. The next morning I was up before my alarm. Nathan was still asleep. I showered, dressed, grabbed my keys, and headed in early. The drive into Dallas felt mechanical. No radio. Just me and my thoughts replaying that cologne, that hallway, that fake bathroom story. I got to the office at 7:30. I sat at my desk, emails piling up, but I wasn't really working. I was just waiting. For what? I didn't know yet. But I knew something was coming. I was staring at the same email for the third time when I felt a hand rest gently on my shoulder. It was Frank Delgado, our night security guy. Late 50s, gray hair, kind eyes. He stepped into my office and closed the door. "You've always been decent to me," he started. "Most folks just walk past like I'm part of the furniture. You're not like that." He pulled a small flash drive from his pocket, held it for a second like it burned. "Security footage from last night," he said quietly. You need to see this." My throat went dry. "What is it, Frank?" He shook his head, eyes full of sympathy. I'm sorry, ma'am. I really am. Then he placed the flash drive in my hand. And just like that, whatever I'd been waiting for had arrived. As soon as Frank left, I locked my office door. Actually turned the deadbolt. I'd never done that before. I pulled the blinds, sat down, and plugged the flash drive into my computer. One folder, 3 video files, all labeled with the same date as the party, all timestamped between 10 and 11 at night. My hand was shaking just enough for me to notice. Part of me wanted to yank the drive out. Pretend this never happened. But that bubble had already popped the second I smelled that cologne. I took a breath. Whatever this is, I told myself, I need to know. Not for drama. Not for revenge. For my own sanity. For the woman who had to look in the mirror tomorrow. I clicked on the first file. The screen went black for a second. Then a grainy still image appeared. A quiet hallway I recognized but never really noticed before. And then the footage started to move. It was the 12th floor hallway. Timestamp 10:26 p.m. And there he was. Nathan. In his expensive suit. And right beside him, close enough their shoulders brushed, was Vanessa Brooks, his executive assistant. His hand was on her waist. Not guiding her like a boss. Resting there. Comfortable. Familiar. They stopped in front of a meeting room door like they'd done it 100 times. Nathan glanced up and down the hallway, making sure no one was around. Then he pulled out his badge, swiped the reader, and opened the door. Vanessa stepped in first. He followed, hand not leaving her. The door closed at 10:27 p.m. I just stared at the screen, feeling it hit me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was my husband walking willingly out of our marriage and into that room. I don't know how long I stared at that first clip, long enough for my mouth to go dry. Then I clicked on the second file. Same hallway, same camera. Timestamp 11:05 p.m. The meeting room door opened. Nathan stepped out first. He looked relaxed. Smoothed his tie. Adjusted his jacket. Like he'd just finished a presentation. Then Vanessa stepped out. Her hair was a mess now. Her dress was crooked. She yanked it down, fumbling with it. Nathan turned back toward her, said something I couldn't hear. Then he reached out and touched her face. Not a friendly touch. Not a boss checking on an employee. The kind of touch you don't fake. And then they walked off in opposite directions. My hands felt numb on the mouse, but I opened the third file anyway. Ground floor, entrance area. First I saw Nathan walking out, confident, waving at security. Then Vanessa walking out alone, head down, bag on her shoulder, heading straight for the parking garage. No hug goodbye. No awkward small talk. Just clean separation. Practice distance. I leaned back in my chair. No yelling. No sound. No dramatic music. Just 3 quiet clips, timestamps in the corner, and 2 people who thought no one was watching. And sitting there in that empty office, it hit me. 9 years of marriage had just been reduced to 3 silent videos on a flash drive. That was the moment it all finally fell all the way down. I always thought if I'd ever caught someone cheating on me, I'd lose it. Punch a wall. Break something. Scream. I didn't do any of that. I just sat there staring at the black screen after the last video ended. My own face faint in the reflection. I looked older, tired, like someone had hit fast forward on my life overnight. Then the practical part of my brain kicked in. The part that keeps trucks moving and numbers straight. I copied all 3 videos. Saved them. Backed them up. Emailed a copy to my personal account. Subject line: backups. No explanation. When I finally shut the screen off, the office was quiet enough that I could hear my own breathing. I felt this cold, sharp clarity cut through the fog. My marriage was not what I thought it was. That was done. But my job, my future, my dignity, those were still mine to protect. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to act on rage. If I was going to move, I was going to move with facts. The videos proved what happened that night, but my gut kept whispering this isn't the first time. So I called Frank. Frank, it's Emily. I figured you might call, he said quietly. I asked him about access logs, who badged in and out on weekends. He sighed. And that sound told me more than any word. I already checked, he admitted. From July on, almost every Saturday morning, 2 names showed up in the system within minutes of each other. Nathan Reed. Vanessa Brooks. On paper it looked harmless. In my head, Saturday started replaying like a cruel little highlight reel. Me kissing Nathan goodbye, telling him, "Have a good workout," while he drove not to a gym but to her. It wasn't one bad decision at a company party. It was a 5-month routine. 5 months of Saturdays where I thought my husband was at the gym, and he was walking into a quiet building with his assistant. After I hung up with Frank, I just sat there, office door closed, computer screen dark. Dallas skyline stretched out beyond the window like nothing had happened. The city looked the same. I didn't. That one question kept looping in my head. How many Saturdays did I spend believing he was at the gym? I could see it so clearly. Nathan in leggings and a hoodie, tying his shoes by the door, kissing me on the cheek. Be back in a couple hours. Okay. Me telling him, proud of you. Get that workout in. While he drove not to a gym but to her. That's the part that cuts deepest. Not just the sex. The lies. The way he weaponized my trust against me. I gave him my trust, I thought, and he gave me stories. I sat there a long time watching the traffic move across the city, feeling something harden inside me. Finally, I said it out loud just to hear it. Tonight, I'm done pretending I don't know. There's a point where you stop being confused and start being done. I left work earlier than usual that day. Didn't tell anyone why. The drive home felt strangely calm. Decision has a way of quieting the noise. When I walked into the house, it looked exactly like any other evening. Shoes by the door. His mug on the counter. Our life still standing like it wasn't already cracked through the middle. I went straight to the living room, hooked my laptop up to the TV, opened the folder with the 3 videos, hit pause at the first frame. Then I saw it. Our wedding photo on the shelf across from the TV. Younger me in a suit, smiling like an idiot. Nathan in white, looking at me like I was his whole world. I stared at that picture and thought, that man had no idea what was coming. I sat down on the couch and waited. Listened to the clock in the hallway. Checked the time on my phone. Every minute until he walked through that front door felt like an hour. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was just done. I heard the garage door open before I heard him. Keys in the bowl. Heels on the tile. The same little rhythm I'd heard 1,000 times. He walked into the living room, briefcase over his shoulder, smiling like this was any other Tuesday. "Hey," he said, dropping his keys. "How was your day?" I was already sitting on the couch, TV on, screen paused on that 12th floor hallway. "Nathan," I said, voice steady. "Sit down. We need to talk." He frowned a little, confused, but sat at the other end of the couch. "What's going on?" I didn't answer. I just picked up the remote and hit play. The room went quiet except for the soft hum of the TV. The hallway appeared. The timestamp 10:26 p.m. We both watched as he walked into frame with Vanessa at his side, his hand on her waist, the two of them going into that meeting room together. I didn't look at him right away. I watched the screen. When I finally turned my head, his face was white. Eyes wide. Mouth slightly open. He swallowed hard and whispered, "Emily, I can explain." And that sentence right there almost made me laugh. "I can explain," he repeated, voice shaking now. He started talking fast. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking straight." I let him run with it for a minute. All the usual lines. "Just happened. It's not what it looks like. It's complicated." Then, right on cue, he turned it back on me. "You were distant, Emily. You were always working. You never really saw me anymore." I just sat there letting the words bounce off. No yelling. No crying. Just done. When he finally ran out of air, I asked one question. "Every Saturday since July was a mistake too?" He froze. Didn't even blink. "I've got the entry logs," I said quietly. "Nathan Reed. Vanessa Brooks. Almost every Saturday. 9 a.m. in, 11 or 12 out. Picking up marketing documents. Reviewing reports." His shoulders dropped. The fight went out of his eyes. "This wasn't one bad night," I said. "This was a schedule." He covered his face with his hands and started to sob, but there was nothing left for me to protect. The story he was trying to sell couldn't survive the timestamps. He reached for me. "Emily, please," he cried, sliding closer on the couch, hand coming toward my arm like he could pull this back with one touch. I stood up. Instinct. My body moved before my brain did. "Don't," I said. My voice came out low flat. Don't come near me. He froze, hand still hanging in the air. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Same face. Same eyes. Same man I'd called my husband for 9 years. But I couldn't unsee that hallway, that door, his hand on her walking in. You walked into that room as my husband, I said slowly. You walked out as a stranger. He shook his head, sobbing. We can fix this, Emily. We can go to counseling. We can. No. I cut in. This marriage is over. No shouting, no name-calling, no plates thrown, no doors slammed. Just a line drawn so clear even he couldn't pretend not to see it. I picked up the remote, turned the TV off and set it on the table. The room went quiet. Then I walked out, leaving him alone on the couch with a blank screen and everything he just destroyed. Here's the thing a lot of people don't understand. Cheating doesn't just hit your heart. It hits your life. Your job. Your future. Daniel Rohr wasn't just some random guy. He was upper management. If I lost it and made a scene at work, I wouldn't just be the cheated wife. I'd be the problem. The liability. So instead of going after him in the office, I went looking for someone who had just as much to lose as I did. His wife. I knew her name, Elaine Rohr, from company events. I also knew she was a family law attorney. I typed her name into Google with Dallas Family Law Firm, and her profile popped right up. Professional headshot. Impressive resume. Office number listed. I sat there for a second staring at the screen, then picked up the phone. Mrs. Rohr, I said when she answered. Yes, who's calling? My name is Emily Harper, I replied. I work with your husband, and I have information about him that you deserve to know. Silence. Then a slow, careful, go on. I'd rather do this in person, I said. Can you meet me at La La Land Kind Cafe tomorrow? That was the moment it stopped being just my private disaster and started becoming truth with consequences. We met the next afternoon. Elaine walked in right on time. Blazer. Dark jeans. Hair pulled back. No drama. No mascara streaks. Just composed. She spotted me, came over and held out her hand. Ms. Harper. Emily, I said. Thanks for coming. We sat, made small talk for maybe 30 seconds, both pretending this was normal. Then I put the flash drive on the table next to a thin stack of printed logs. This is from building security, I said. Footage from the night of the holiday party and entry records from the last few months. She plugged the drive into her laptop, put in earbuds and watched. I sat there staring at the steam rising from my coffee. When she finished, she didn't cry. Her face went from shock to something colder, sharper. She closed the laptop, rested her hands around her cup and said quietly, "Thank you for telling me. Most women in your position would just file for divorce and move on quietly." I nodded once. He destroyed my marriage, I said. I figured you deserved to know he's destroyed yours too. Elaine wasn't just a hurt wife. She was a family law attorney who'd just been handed a complete case file. She moved fast. Within days she'd started the divorce process on her end, contested with everything that implied. Alimony, child support, custody, the works. But she didn't stop there. She also contacted HR at our company, requested a formal meeting, brought the videos, the logs, the fact that Daniel was a regional director and Vanessa reported into the chain he controlled. An inappropriate relationship with a subordinate is what they call it in policy documents. Abuse of power. Conflict of interest. Exposure risk. For HR, it wasn't just gossip, it was liability. The company opened an internal investigation. Emails were pulled. Calendars reviewed. People quietly called into conference rooms and asked pointed questions. Daniel got summoned to HR and legal. No charm. No hallway smile. Just him, a table, and all the ways his own behavior could now hurt the company. As for me, I only showed up when they needed my statement. I answered what they asked. Clear. Short. No extra commentary. By then it wasn't just my private hell anymore. It was an official problem with a case number in a paper trail. The investigation didn't take long. When you mix power, emails, access logs, and security footage, there's only so much spin a guy can put on it. Word came down, violated company policy, inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, abusive position. All the phrases you only ever read in HR training slides until they're about someone you know. They called him into a conference room with HR and legal. He got the choice. resign quietly for personal reasons or be fired for cause. He took the resignation. On paper it looked clean. In reality everyone knew. You could feel it in the hallways, the whispers that stopped when a manager walked by, the half-hidden glances toward his old office. The day he left I happened to be in the lobby. Didn't plan it, just timing. I saw him walk out carrying one cardboard box. A plant, a couple of frames, some binders. No fanfare. No handshake line. Just a man who thought he was untouchable doing the longest walk of shame of his life. He didn't see me. Or if he did, he pretended not to. And I stood there, hands in my pockets, not proud, not gloating, just finished. They didn't fire Vanessa. Companies like to play it balanced on paper. Instead, a few weeks after everything broke, an email went out about restructuring, some roles being realigned to another branch. Her name was on that list. Officially, she was being transferred. Unofficially, everyone understood. People changed around her. Co-workers who used to stop by her desk, laugh with her, ask her advice, now gave short nods in the hallway and kept walking. Conversations died when she stepped into the break room. You can feel judgment even when no one says the words out loud. She told me once in passing that she could hear whispers all the way to the parking lot. At first, I think she tried to push through it. New branch, fresh start, whatever story she told herself. 3 weeks after that transfer email, another one went out. This one was shorter. Please join us in wishing Vanessa Brooks the best as she moves on to new opportunities. No goodbye party. No cake. No group photo. I read the email at my desk, stared at it for a minute, then clicked it closed. I didn't feel happy. Didn't feel sad. If anything, I just thought actions have a way of circling back. The legal part moved faster than I expected. No kids. No big fight over who gets what. Just lawyers, paperwork, and a pile of evidence no one could argue with. My attorney filed on grounds of adultery and handed over the videos, the logs, the whole rotten record. His lawyer didn't push back much. There wasn't a lot to push. We met at the courthouse to sign the final papers. Neutral room, neutral walls, neutral faces. Nathan sat across from me, eyes red but empty, not angry, not begging, just hollow like he'd already accepted the crash. The agreement was simple. I kept the house. I kept the better car. I kept most of the savings we built. He signed where they told him to sign, pen scratching paper, one line at a time, closing doors we both thought would never shut. When it was my turn, I added my signature, pushed the last document forward and stood up. We're done, I said quietly. That's all. No hug. No maybe someday. Just two people walking out of the same room in completely different directions with the judge's stamp closing what a camera had already killed. 7 months is a strange amount of time. Long enough that life doesn't feel like it's on fire anymore. Short enough that you still smell smoke sometimes. I sold the house. Too many ghosts in those walls. Saturday mornings. Fake gym bags. The bed we shared. The couch where I press play. I moved into a smaller place in a quieter part of town. Less space. More peace. I dropped some weight without really trying. Stress. Long walks. Finally cooking for one instead of two. I let my hair grow out. Nathan used to hate it. Now I kept it just because it felt like mine. People at work said I looked different. Calmer. Sharper. A little older in the eyes maybe, but steadier. The rage didn't stay forever. It burned hot then cooled. And somewhere along the way, hate turned into something else. Into indifference. And let me tell you something most women don't realize at first. The anger feels powerful, but it chains you to them. The day I stopped caring what he was doing was the day I finally felt free. The anger cooled into indifference. And indifference is so much more freeing than hate. One unexpected thing about all of this, work became simpler. Not easier, just clearer. I showed up, did my job, hit my numbers, didn't gossip, didn't badmouth anyone. I let the facts speak for themselves there too. People watched how I handled it. They saw I didn't blow up in the office, didn't send rage emails, didn't drag coworkers into my mess. I think that mattered more than I realized at the time. A few months after everything settled, my manager called me in. They were creating a new senior operations role. Not Daniel's old job. Someone external ended up in that seat, but a step up, more responsibility, better pay, a corner office with an actual view instead of a wall. We've noticed how you've carried yourself, he said. You kept this place running through a lot. We trust you. That word trust hit different after everything. The raise was nice. The title was nice. But the part that really landed was this. I hadn't needed to destroy anyone's life to move forward. His fall wasn't my promotion. My work was. My consistency was. And I realized the real win wasn't watching him go down. It was building a life that had nothing to do with him at all. It happened on a random Saturday. No anniversary. No important date. Just life. I was at Kroger doing what divorced women do. Pushing a cart, checking prices, pretending I knew what to buy for the week. Apples. Chicken. Coffee. The usual. I turned into the produce aisle. Reached for a bag of Honeycrisp and saw him. Nathan. For a second my brain didn't register it was him. He looked smaller, somehow thinner, hair pulled back in a quick, lazy tie, no makeup, dark circles under his eyes. He wasn't dressed like the polished corporate version I used to see. Just jeans, a worn sweatshirt, sneakers. His cart caught my eye. Milk. Bread. Store-brand cereal. Cheap pasta. None of the organic, premium, top-shelf things he used to insist on. He looked up at the same moment I did. Our eyes met across the apples. Time didn't flash before my eyes. There was no dramatic music. Just one sharp, quiet second where the past and the present stood face to face under bad grocery store lighting. His lips parted like he was about to say my name. And in that tiny suspended moment, I realized I had a choice about what kind of woman I was going to be next. His mouth moved first. Emily, I didn't let the rest land. I didn't want to hear sorry, or how are you, or whatever line he'd spent 7 months rehearsing in his head. I picked up the apples I'd been holding, dropped them into my cart and turned away. No words. No nod. No polite small talk for old time's sake. Just a simple decision. I wasn't giving him one more piece of me. I pushed the cart down the aisle, feeling his eyes on my back. No footsteps following. No voice calling my name. Just that thick, awkward silence you get when two people know exactly what happened and know there is nothing left to say. Inside, it didn't feel like victory. It felt clean. In that moment, he wasn't my ex-husband or the man who cheated on me. He was just another stranger in a grocery store who happened to know parts of my life he'd never be invited into again. I paid for my groceries, walked out of Kroger, didn't look back. That quiet walk to my car was the real goodbye. A few weeks after that, on a Monday, I was at my desk going through the usual mess. Emails. Reports. Numbers that never stop. My phone buzzed. Text from a number saved as Frank. Security. Ms. Harper. Thought you should know. Daniel Rohr was arrested yesterday. DUI, third offense. He added a link to a local news clip. Mugshot. Short article. Former executive. Prior incidents. Court date pending. I sat there for a second just looking at his face on the screen. No suit. No perfect hair. Just another middle-aged guy who'd pushed his luck too many times and finally hit the wall. I thought about the divorce he was fighting, the alimony, the child support, the career that had already gone off a cliff. I typed back. Thanks for letting me know, Frank. Then I put the phone face down and went back to the spreadsheet I was working on. I didn't feel happy. Didn't feel sorry. I felt nothing. And that's when it hit me. Not that his life was a mess now, but that mine wasn't tied to his anymore. His fall didn't lift me. My own choices did. If you've been cheated on, listen to me for a second because I know exactly where your head goes. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Is it my fault? I went through all of that over and over. Here's the truth I had to choke down the hard way. Betrayal doesn't define you. It defines them. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was a perfect wife. I wasn't. I worked long hours. I got tired. I missed hints. I dropped the ball on date nights. But I can say this, hand on my heart. I wasn't perfect, but I didn't deserve this. Cheating wasn't my punishment. It was his choice. His choice. You don't control what someone else does behind closed doors. You only control how you respond when the door finally swings open. I could have smashed things, started fights at work, thrown my whole life in the fire just to show I was hurt. Instead, I protected what I could. My money. My job. My future. My name. You want to know what real revenge looks like? The best revenge is a life where they don't matter anymore. This part is for the women who hear a story like mine and don't say a word, but feel it in their gut. We make excuses. We shrug it off. We say, it is what it is. Meanwhile, we're walking around feeling like idiots because someone we trusted made a fool out of us. I know that feeling, like the whole world is in on a joke and the punchline is you. So let me say this clearly. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it hits your ego. Yeah, it makes you question your worth as a woman. But hear me. You are not weak because someone lied to you. You are not stupid because you loved somebody and believed them. As a woman, you still have your pride. Hold on to that. Don't waste years stalking their social media, replaying every detail, feeding the anger like it's all you've got left. Use that energy to rebuild your body, your money, your peace. One day you'll wake up and realize you just don't care anymore. Not because it didn't matter, but because you chose yourself and kept moving. So that's the whole road. A company party. 38 missing minutes. A flash drive that felt heavier than a bomb. 3 silent videos that cracked 9 years of marriage clean down the middle. But here's the part one never told anyone. The night it all happened, the woman I thought I was died quietly in that office chair, lit only by the glow of a security camera playback. And the woman I became? She didn't show up until the next morning when I looked in the mirror and finally said, I'm done losing myself over people who lie. Selling the old house. Rebuilding my career. Learning how to sleep again. Those weren't just steps forward. They were funerals. Little burials of every version of me that tried to hold on to something already dead. And somewhere along the way, I realized something simple but sharp enough to cut. Betrayal doesn't break you. It just shows you who never deserved the version of you they destroyed. So let me end with this. If you were standing in that hallway with me, USB in your hand, truth in your face, would you burn everything down? Or would you walk away and build a life they never get to enter again? Pick your side in the comments. And if you know a woman who needs this, don't keep it to yourself.